Many people never consider how important the little decisions are in a simple song. It's possible that they aren't aware of how much control the composer actually has over every aspect of a song, or why people love it so much after listening to it for hours. Because the hardest part about composing isn't playing the music, it's writing and organizing it in a way so that people actually want to listen to it on repeat for 10 hours straight. Today we're going to be looking at the Mii Channel theme and how Kazumi Totaka manages to create its insanely addictive appeal. While the song sounds simple, it's deceptively complex, and mixes in a lot of compositional and arrangement techniques to create massive interest in the song. Let's take a look at a few of these techniques that Kazumi used in the music for the Mii Channel. The first is an unorthodox form. Form is how music is organized. It's important because it helps the composer and listener understand and make sense of what they're listening to. But the Mii Channel theme catches attention by organizing a little differently than most. In this song, we start off with an A-B-A-C form pattern, which is extremely common in a lot of modern music. But a few moments later, the unorthodox thing happens. We've got this longer movement that compositionally feels completely different, which changes the form into an A-B-A-C-D pattern. The D pattern is what breaks the recognizable form and catches our attention. But imagine if the song looped back from the C pattern. You're gonna notice that it doesn't sound too bad, in fact maybe even a little expected, and that's normal. Common musical form makes us expect an A pattern to repeat every time we hear a different pattern. But that's the problem. For musical patterns to stand out, they need to be contrasted with something different. Take a listen again to the D pattern and how it contrasts with the beginning patterns. You can hear that the D pattern notes have a longer, elegant quality in contrast with the quick, jumping notes in the beginning A and B patterns. The contrast between these two is what creates more emphasis and attention in the beginning when it loops back around. The second thing we need to look at is the actual notes themselves. More specifically, creating interesting music with unexpected dissonance. Dissonance, for those who don't know, is just something that sounds purposely harsh when played. You definitely notice it when you hear it. To see the effect dissonance has, let's take the very beginning phrase of this song and remove some of the harsher dissonance. This immediately makes the music sound nicer, but almost a little too nice. There's no bite that makes it interesting or unique or even represent the Mii Channel. So to spice things up, we can add more dissonance for more variety. We start with removing the thirds. Then removing the notes from the chords. Then adding chromaticism. Until finally, we end with a borrowed chord from a completely different scale. We still hear the essence of those nice tones with the melodic thirds, but we make it unique by adding different types of dissonance to create interest. That's great composing. And if you look, you'll notice that it applies to every other portion of the song. The last thing I want to cover is a technique I like to call foreshadowing the music. With every musical change, you want some sort of transition to prepare the listener for the next pattern. It's like the composer's way of saying, wait, but there's more. There's different ways of doing this, but the Mii Channel theme does this in a particular way by using chromatic notes and mode changes. Of the two methods, chromatic notes are used to transition between similar sounding A and B patterns. By doing this, it essentially primes our ears to expect more after these sections. But without them, The changes between each pattern don't seem to fit together as one movement, and makes the music as a whole feel slightly off. So in order to make these fit, every end of each pattern has one of these chromatic rises or falls. This brings us to mode changes in the C and D patterns. As we mentioned before, the song has an unorthodox form by including an uncommon D pattern. The interesting thing about this section is that it's written in a completely different mode than the first 3 sections, the Aeolian mode instead of the Dorian. Because this section is so different from the rest, it needs a bigger transition. That's where the C pattern comes in. To really hear how important it is, let's listen to the song without it. It sounds a little disconnected. For us to really bridge this gap, we need a reset button for our ears to adjust. So in order to reset, the sole purpose of the C pattern is simply to introduce the D pattern by using key changes. These changes essentially tell our brains we're going in a completely different direction. This happens again in the D pattern in order for us to switch back into the A pattern. I've always appreciated Nintendo's composers for putting their full attention on songs for things that aren't even related to their biggest games. The Mii Channel Theme is a great example of how to use different techniques to amplify a simple song's catchiness and appeal. Thanks for watching, and if you have any suggestions for music I should analyze in the future, leave it in the comments below. And if you want more insights into great music, be sure to like this video and subscribe.